So what I've done is I've set up a number of vapor lamps. This one here is actually neon. I'm not sure how well the color comes through on the camera. It's sort of an orangish, mostly orange, sort of maybe a bit of a reddish tinge to it. I think most people are familiar with what neon signs look like. That's just neon gas. That's what it looks like. This one, I've got two over here. Now the one on the left, which is sort of an ice blue, again I'm not sure how well that comes through on the camera, but just looking at it with my eyes, it's like an ice blue color. That's mercury, and the one next to it to the right, which has a distinctive reddish tinge, that's sodium. So they're all vapor lamps, and what happens is that when we plug them into the wall, electricity goes in, it provides energy to the electrons inside the vapor. Those electrons go up to higher energy levels within the atom. Then when they basically fall back down to the lower energy levels, that energy is released in the form of photons. And what these three different lamps show is that the energy levels are different for all three elements, because of the distinctive colors of each one that tell us that there's particular photons that are being emitted from each one. Remember that each color corresponds to a different frequency of photon, which corresponds to a different energy. So the energy difference between two energy levels is going to be equal to the energy of the photons that are emitted. So if there was no difference between the three elements, then we would expect that it all be the same color, and that's clearly not the case. So this is evidence of what we call the quantization of energy levels, the quantized nature of electron energy levels. So it basically says that within each atom, the electrons can only have specific energies. That means that the difference between the energies in the atom have to be specific values. That then corresponds to specific energies for photons, which corresponds to specific frequencies that can be emitted and specific colors. So these lamps provide evidence for the fact that every single element has different energy levels, different possible energies for the electrons. Each of these lamps has its own very special, very unique emission spectrum. If you get a spectroscope, you can actually see what each of the lines in the emission spectrum are, and it's almost like a fingerprint for each element. Every single one has its own special energy levels, and that corresponds to very specific spectral lines associated with that element.